actually started about 13 years ago now as a renewable energy and clean technology, Michael, good to see you, organization in San Diego, really when the state of California was passing AB 32, which was establishing the renewable portfolio standards and other energy and environmental related issues under the Schwarzenegger administration. We wanted to make sure in San Diego that we were well positioned to not only benefit from those initiatives at the state level environmentally, but more importantly, from our perspective at that time, from an economic development perspective, making sure that as the state was going to move forward in renewable energy goals, energy storage goals, electric vehicle goals, whatever, that we were well positioned in San Diego to develop those technologies, integrate those technologies in our day-to-day lives, and adopt those technologies. So as the state continues to pass aggressive climate and energy related legislation, which we support in our region pretty significantly. We want to make sure again that we're well positioned from an economic perspective to deploy those technologies, develop those technologies, and we've done, I think, a decent job of situating ourselves to where we can actually do that. So just a little bit of some of the state legislation that has really set kind of California in a path forward, but at the same time created economic opportunities all throughout the state, and especially in San Diego. We often say kind of in this world, regulation isn't the enemy of business. In fact, in the energy space, regulation at the state level has really created market certainty and has driven the economy, probably unlike some other industries. So we talk about that quite often. This industry in San Diego alone has about an $8 billion impact on our regional economy. It's not insignificant. We obviously have a large biotech industry in San Diego. Our IT communication space isn't too bad with Qualcomm and other companies there. The military and our tourism industry plays very key roles in our regional economy. But this, we've got about 46,000 jobs in the region, 45,000. No surprise, most of those are in the solar industry. And I always like to say, when I get a little political, that we have more folks in the renewable energy industry in San Diego alone than the entire country has in the coal industry. So we feel like we're doing something right locally. From a renewable energy perspective, 45% of our local energy comes from renewable energy resources. Our cities throughout the region are adopting climate action plans that want to increase this to 100%. That's obviously giving our local IOU a little bit of cause right now, a little bit of pause. Transportation, from our end, we've got about 32,000 electric vehicles on the ground in San Diego. There's a huge push throughout San Diego and really throughout the state to electrify our transportation system. So where there's a lot of efforts underway to increase those numbers. SDG&E, again, our utility, has a pretty robust program, Power Your Drive, where they're encouraging the adoption of electric vehicles, creating time of use rates for those owners of those electric vehicles, and really trying to make sure that we're plugging into the grid to charge our cars when there's an abundant amount of renewable resources during the day. So people actually pay a higher rate when they plug in at night because we don't have as much renewable energy resources on the grid. From an energy storage perspective, we're doing our fair share in San Diego with the second largest energy storage facility in San Diego. We have a new one coming on within probably 2020 that will be the world's largest. So really looking at how are we generating renewable energy and how are we storing that energy so that we can use it at different times during the day. So the utility has about one project right now online, 4 projects underway. There's private sector companies coming in developing other utility storage projects. San Diego's energy cheerleader, sometimes I like to refer to myself and our organization. We always have to talk about what's happening in the energy space in San Diego because I think it's exciting and it's to some degree unlike other places in the country, in fact maybe even the world. So Smart City San Diego. So this was an initiative that was launched in our region in 2011. At the time, San Diego was one of the Department of Transportation's 11 EV cities, I think. And so we as an organization saw, again, this is a huge opportunity to really build out electric vehicle infrastructure to support the high demand of EVs in San Diego. So we started Smart City San Diego really as kind of an effort to work with not only Department of Transportation and others to really make sure that we have the necessary electric vehicle infrastructure in the ground, public vehicle infrastructure in the ground to support the growing number of vehicles. We failed miserably. We were supposed to put about 9,000 electric vehicle charging stations in the ground. I think we put maybe 90. We realized pretty quickly that when dealing with cities, when dealing with permits, with dealing with right-of-ways, and then trying to put charging stations on those, it was a whole new world that no one really had a clue about what to do. And in California, where we again are highly regulated, I think it made it even more challenging. But what we learned there is cities are really starting to think about technology, IoT, data in a whole new way, and the private sector can sit at the table with them to help them figure out kind of how to do that and what that is. And we have been doing that in the energy space for quite some time, so wanted to kind of move that into the smart city space.
Mary Barra, the CEO and chairwoman of General Motors, started saying this at different public events probably 4 or 5 years ago already. And why that matters is that when Uber and Lyft and Google, or now Waymo, and some of the tech industry was out there saying that they're about to change the transportation and mobility space, it's one thing. It's another thing when a 100-plus-year-old car manufacturing company says everything is about to change in our space. And they don't even call themselves a car manufacturer anymore. General Motors and Ford and most of the rest of the companies call themselves mobility companies now. And they're buying or building all kinds of parking management, shared mobility, electric vehicle, you name it, different sectors, gambling on what's next in the mobility space. When I first saw this diagram, I thought it was fairly complex, but it's actually kind of simple. If we start today in the lower left-hand side of sort of the traditional model of mobility and vehicle ownership, the traditional model that we've been dealing with for the last 100 years-ish, or 75, 100 years, has been people own their own vehicle. It's parked 94 to 96% of the time, and it has very little automation. So as we go on the top left side, the business model could still stay the same. It's the Tesla, it's electric vehicle with ever-increasing levels of automation, but still individually owned vehicle. If we go on the bottom right side is where Uber and Lyft and the TNCs have been really changing the business model of how people get from here to there. And what we're migrating to then is from that original model of the individually owned vehicle over to electric, shared, connected, autonomous vehicles. We've still been hovering around 30 to 35,000 people a year killed on our roadway system. And as a traffic safety engineer, that is just completely unacceptable to me. So the promise of the connected autonomous vehicle to drastically finally move the needle on this number is what really excites me about this technology. So what does connected mean? So connected vehicles may or may not have any level of automation in them. So they're not necessarily autonomous vehicles. They might not even be partially autonomous vehicles, but they are connected. And so we talk primarily about these two areas, vehicle to vehicle, or V2V, and V to I, vehicles talking to infrastructure. But really when we're thinking about the future of autonomy, and Jason was talking about this a little bit on the freight side of things, there's a lot of us that actually expect this part of the industry, big fleets of long-haul trucks and local delivery vehicles, as being some of the earliest at-scale type of implementations of autonomous vehicles. There's just too much business incentive for the shipping companies, long-haul shippers, as well as the Amazons of the world to not try to get to the point of autonomy as quickly as possible. So autonomous means a lot of different things. And what it means from a technical standpoint is a combination of some technologies where there's onboard computers, as we've always assumed, running GIS mapping and very high precision maps. So the vehicle with GPS and its own GIS, everyone knows these acronyms, right? That the vehicle knows pretty well where it is. And then it has a series of sensors that are then confirming that it is where it thinks it is. I am right at the side of the road here. And confirming what it sees around it. That whether it's a pedestrian, another car, whatever else. So there's a series of sensors, LiDAR, radar, cameras, all combining to give that vehicle situational awareness in addition to the mapping component of where do I think I am and am I there, what is going on around me, and then making decisions based on all of that information. So in addition to V2V and V2X in the connected vehicle world, or V2V and V2I, we talk more generically about V2X, so vehicles communicating with it's everything, really. Pedestrians, trains, central systems, infotainment, all of these different options. And more vehicles right now are being built with cellular connections, so they can talk to all kinds of things, even if they're not able right now to talk to other vehicles around them. But it's estimated that just the connected vehicle piece of this has a potential to address up 81% of unimpaired crash scenarios with vehicles talking to one another. Now, the unimpaired is important here because if the driver is drunk, it really doesn't matter what feedback they're getting from the car, or if they're asleep, or if they're distracted with their phone, unless the car is autonomous. So this is really just focusing on the connected piece of that. If the car is self-driving and it gets this feedback, then even that impaired piece of this can get greatly